Yo, what's good, man? I want to talk about Team Bud Crawford. Bud fights today. He fights David Abney over there in is it in the UK? I'm not really sure, but it's gonna be on BLK Prime. And I want to talk about a couple things Team Crawford said in the past couple days. Terrence Crawford, he feels like uh, him and Errol Spence would sell better in the UK was because he feels like UK has the best boxing fans and they support boxing more in the UK. And BoMac BoMac say that the fight wasn't made because PBC knows Errol Spence can't win. And I'm gonna just go out there and say that I kind of disagree with both because Terrence Crawford to say that the fight would do better in the UK or it should go to the UK. You know what I mean? I just feel like that's just, just asinine. That's just the weirdest statement he could say about this fight because the UK uh is nowhere near as big as the United States. I feel like the United States have a couple states out of its 50 states that is bigger than the UK alone. And for Terrence Crawford to say that a fight this big, the fight of the generation, should go in the UK besides Las Vegas or somewhere like, Madison Square Garden, where all the big fights go down at, I just don't see where he's coming from with that. And he's kind of showing bad business saying stuff like that because a fight that big, no way that it shouldn't be in Las Vegas. It shouldn't be where Floyd and Pacquiao did their thing. That's exactly where I believe the fight should go. You know what I mean? And Bud, he said this about UK fans a few times in his career that they're actually better than his own fans that he mostly have in the black community in the US altogether, not just really the black community. It just, the US, I feel like the market is just so huge that if you're not really making no noise in the US, you're not really that big at all. Anthony Joshua, I feel like he could have been much bigger than what he was, still is throughout his career if he would have had some fights in like the US, instead of Dillian White and, Pulev and them, and he fought like somebody like Michael Hunter, Jermaine Franklin, Jarrell. He was finna fight Big Baby Miller that did the PEDs and stuff, but you know what I mean. The America is just too big of a market, and Terrence Crawford says what he says because boxing is higher on the list in the UK than it is in the United States. Because in the United States, you have the NFL, NBA, shit. Baseball is more than boxing in the US. All of the college sports is bigger than boxing in the US. Tennis, I think, is bigger than boxing in the US. Boxing is like the 10th biggest sport in the US if we really talking, you know what I mean? But I feel like Terrence Crawford shouldn't diss his own fans the way that he does. You know what I mean? I don't think he really cares about the fans like that. He wants his guaranteed money, and he can give a damn about any of our support. Cause shit, the matter of fact, I'm sorry about my statement earlier in this video. The fight is actually in Omaha. The fight is in Terrence Crawford's backyard. And you look at his press conference yesterday, they did not show up for Terrence Crawford. Like, they announced him for the weigh-in and stuff, and it was looking real dry out there. You know what I mean? And this is what I had feared. And this maybe will mess up the Spence fight next. Because PBC is going to look at how bad this event potentially will do that I expected to do. And the offer is going to be even worse for Terrence Crawford. And Terrence Crawford ain't going to want to take that Spence fight if PBC even comes back. Because this event might bomb real bad. I hope it don't bomb too bad for the sake of BLK Prime, who's trying to make their mark in boxing. They paid Terrence Crawford $10 million. They paid Avanesian his biggest payday by far, by like 3 times his highest payday. I'm really worried about BLK Prime because it looks like, they won't. They will lose a lot of money tonight. That's just what I'm seeing right now because you got to have the gate and the pay-per-views. I don't know if like the hot dogs and the concession stand really counts in the money you invest on the fighters and stuff, but uh if Omaha don't show up tonight, I think even if Omaha show up tonight, I think the venue has like 18,000 you can put in there. I'm not sure that even if they fill those stands all the way up, that's enough to make their money back. You know what I mean? And I think I know for sure that this pay-per-view is gonna flop. Well under 100,000, and it's at $40 a piece. So yeah, shit ain't looking good for BLK Prime, but it is for Terrence Crawford. He says he's been paid, and I like to see the fighters get paid, nobody getting screwed over. You know what I mean? Because you go in there and risk your life. You can go in there and get knocked out the wrong way and never wake up from the coma. I don't ever want to see these fighters get bucked for their money. You know what I mean? Because you pretty much fought for your life for nothing. And yeah, but I just wanted to say that about Terrence Crawford. But BoMac, BoMac said that the fight wasn't made because, the transparency. And he said that PBC knows that Spence could not win that fight. And the reason why I disagree with BoMac is because if PBC knew that Spence can't win the fight, I don't think they would have spent 5, 6 months, 7 months trying to negotiate to get you guys to sign the contract. You know what I mean? Because people like Canelo, when Canelo ducks people, like you hear nothing from them. Like you don't get in the same room with Canelo. Like, you know what I mean? Like he flats out avoids you. Like the Charlo brothers and Demetrius Andrade, they never even had a chance to, you know, they never been offered anything for Canelo ever. And PBC tried to make the fight for 6, 7 months with Terrence Crawford. So I feel like they have some faith in Errol Spence. I think they don't have faith in the fight selling and them making their money back. That's what I think more their issue is. Because Terrence Crawford, being the dangerous fighter that he is, he does have potential to defeat Errol Spence. So they don't want to get their guy defeated, possibly embarrassed and lose a bunch of money on it. So that's why they had the zero guarantee for Terrence Crawford. And Errol Spence had took his side, and Terrence Crawford agreed to that too. But he said the transparency held up everything. But it's just a bunch of he said, she said shit because Terrence Crawford say that they didn't give him the transparency. But when him and Errol Spence was tweeting back and forth talking shit about it right after Bud announced the Avanesian fight, Earl said that they did give him transparency. And I don't know. I just feel like it was just one thing after another for Crawford. Like PBC had to keep reoffering him a bunch of times, and he booked the Avanesian fight because he had 10 million guaranteed. And I just don't feel like the statement BoMac made was a true thing. I think it was more of the business and the money that they were going to lose, and regardless of the result, like they didn't want Errol Spence to go in there and beat the hell out of Terrence Crawford if that meant them losing a bunch of money. You know what I mean? But that's just how I feel about that situation. Bud fighting Avanesian tonight. Hopefully he calling out Spence after the fight and they go to negotiate and the fight in a couple months, like 3 months. Because Spence fought April 16th. Now if they go 3 months from now, that'll be March 10th. That Earl still be under a year. No excuses. I feel like Earl looked great after them 17 months layoff. And I feel like Earl can duplicate and look great and have a nice camp and get his shit together by March 10th. And that'll be 11 months out of the ring, which is bad but not too bad. And not enough for excuse either. So I feel like there's still a chance of this fight getting made.